Right, so I have a IntelliJ idea. I have Scala. I have main.scala file. This is Scala 3 file because I'm using build SBT. It shows me that Scala version is 3.5.1. I'm completely new to Scala, but ChatGPT will help me. So I go to this refactoring.guru site, and I see this beautiful first pattern, which is factory method. So my goal is to briefly see what does this even mean, then see the implementation using classes, and then use Scala to show how we can achieve the same, almost the same, but using not inheritance, but use composition. So you heard probably that there is such a principle as prefer composition over inheritance, and I will just my goal is to rewrite the implementation of this pattern using composition, delegation, and interface implementation rather than inheritance. So we have factory method, also known as virtual constructor. So intent. Factory method is a creational design pattern that provides an interface for creating objects in a superclass, but allows subclasses to alter the type of object that will be created. So we can see that the author of this refactoring guru, in particular this factory method, I don't know how to call this site or tutorial, he already goes for inheritance rather than composition. So he says that creating objects in a superclass. Superclass means that we have superclasses like parent class, and we have subclass, which is child class, right? So definitely here we will see inheritance implementation of this factory method design patterns. So we have like design patterns, which are like abstract things, and we have concrete implementation. So we can choose which language to implement this pattern, which principle to use, for example, inheritance or composition. If you see, many languages do not provide classes inheritance in the heart of the language. And even the creator of Java says that the biggest regret of creating a Java was choosing to implement the classes inheritance. So there are a lot of things in the internet that points me that we need to prefer composition over inheritance, but inheritance can be used in some of the parts where it is really needed, but in the most cases we can prefer composition, delegation, interface, and or trait implementation. So let's see. So the author depicts this beautiful picture. It shows that we have some logistics company, right? So for example, and he says that when it was like started, the logistics was like road logistics within the logistics company. So there was only one, I don't know how to call this, like sub company for road logistics, and there was no need even to implement C logistics because there was no C provider. So imagine like this is like left was implemented, and the code and the creator of this logistics company, the application for this logistics company implemented the road logistics for the application, right? And in most cases, I think it's even okay to implement this that way and not think about other logistics because they may never ever exist. But what what yeah, so yeah, so I think it's okay to implement if we had only road logistics, it's okay to implement the application using only road logistics. and not making any room for other logistics, because the code will be super simple. Yeah, and if the C logistics comes into place, we can actually abstract the things and provide some of the like, which is just this factory method is about to provide some kind of abstraction to for the client to use some sort of logistics, but different logistics can be added in the future when the requirements is adjusted. So when C logistics providers come into play, we can just change the code, provide some extra abstraction to make room not only for C logistics and road logistics, but for other logistics, maybe airplane logistics. So this is like the goal of this pattern. So problem, imagine that you are creating a logistics management application. The first version of your app can only handle transportation by trucks. This is like transportation by trucks. You can see these trucks, 3 of them, but a lot of them, right? Yeah, so the bulk of your code lives inside the truck class. So yeah, they mean that we implemented, or somebody implemented the logistics using road logistics, and for only for trucks. He didn't even ever expected C logistics. So the bulk of your code lives inside the truck class. Truck, it can be truck or any other class, but but I think the thought of the author was to just to say that the creator of this logistics app created the code only for truck. So after a while, things get changed. After a while, your app becomes pretty popular. So yeah, so each day you receive dozens of requests from C transportation companies to incorporate C logistics into the app. So this is like C logistics companies, they want your logistics company, which was only for road logistics, to implement the C logistics in your application to be able to interact with their C logistics companies. So this is like future. This is like the goal to provide also C logistics and accommodate maybe even more logistics, airplane logistics, and so on and so forth. So our company, each day you receive dozens of company requests from C transportation companies to incorporate C logistics into the app. So we have, and adding a new class to the program isn't that simple if the rest of the code is already coupled to existing classes. So yeah, there is like problem that the classes are only for truck logistics, and if we add more, so this is like logistics app, and it strongly like coupled. So there is a thing in software development called coupling. So the logistics app hugely depends on the track class, not on other abstract thing, but on concrete thing, which is track. So adding a new class to the program isn't that simple if the rest of the code is already coupled to existing classes, to existing tracks classes. And adding a new class is just adding, for example, class, I don't know how to call this, C boat class or something like that. Great news, right? So it's definitely not great news because the application is tied to track class. But how about the code? At present, most of your code is coupled to the track class. Adding ships, this is like ships, not boats, but ships. These are the ships. Adding ships into the app would require making changes to the entire code base. Moreover, if later you decide to add another type of transportation to the app, for example, flies, right? So big airplanes. You will probably need to make all of these changes again. As a result, you will end up with pretty nasty code riddled with conditionals that switch the app's behavior depending on the class of transportation object. So there is a problem of accommodating, making a room for new transportations. Maybe we will end up being a humanity which is explores the space, right? So there will be like logistics to the space, to the moon, to the Mars, and so on and so forth. So there is a problem. So we need to make a room for these types of logistics transportation companies. We don't even know the future. What is the future? Maybe we'll get bombarded by atomic bombs and we will not even need making room for new logistics. But who knows? Maybe we will survive, or maybe we will get up. Maybe new humanity will be, or cats will be new nation, right? So cats will, how to call this? They will be like more intelligent creatures, and they will uh, need other logistics, right? So the solution, so author says that author author of this beautiful site, Refactoring Guru, he proposes some solution to this problem. The factory method design pattern suggests that you replace direct object construction calls using the new operator. So new operator can be found in languages like Java. So yeah, so we can replace it with calls to a special factory method. Don't worry, the objects are still created via the new operator, but it's being called from within the factory method. Objects returned by a factory method are often referred to as products. So we can say that objects returned by a factory method are often referred to as products. So whenever we see a truck or boat or ship or airplane, these are just products, can be referred as products within this design pattern. I think so. It's just my interpretation.